So this is the last video of the Month for You initiative at IBM, right? So as you know, during this whole month, we had the opportunity to share some of the, not actually all, but some of those activities that and people and things that are happening in IBM, that is one of the BSCA companies. Of course, that during the month, we all changed. There was some significant happening with this global pandemic and so on. So we had to get somehow in a different kind of setup, right? This brought also content that wasn't expected to be there, right? So we could have also online interviews and so on. But today I would like to share an interview that I did before. So before we were all, started working from home, I interviewed Ivan Tomko, and Ivan is our talent acquisition manager. And I think the interview is particularly interesting. It talks about HR, it talks about hiring, it talks about what is his job as such, but also what is IBM as well doing connected with with the hiring, with the student, how to send a CV, what's the best way to write a CV. So the interview is quite interesting. I don't want to leave it out. I think it's particularly important for the month for you. So it has been a nice month. Thank you a lot everyone for following and liking and sharing. Enjoy the interview, and thank you a lot for watching.
So, hi everyone, I'm still here in the month for you for IBM, and today I'm with Ivan.
Hi Lala.
And Ivan is a recruitment leader and
we're officially now called talent acquisition.
Talent acquisition.
It's a fancy
manager.
name.
Okay. Yes. So, but basically, you are responsible for all the new people that are coming into IBM as well, and where to look for them,
Mm-hmm.
and how to select the best, right? And maybe perhaps also keep the one that are already in, right?
Kind of, yes.
Cool. And so that's interesting actually, because I would like to know from you many things about, one thing we talk about in the BSc area is, that there is a career, a good career in all the BSc companies, right? So for, Slovak student, or even a foreigner that comes here in Slovakia, or maybe lives nearby, or just wants to travel here, or anyone can really find the kind of fulfillment and a good job, a well-paid job, and so on. So I would start from that. Like, why do you think there is a good career in these areas?
I'll probably start with my story. I joined IBM like 3 years or maybe almost 4 years ago, and I didn't really know what I was going into. These were like the big SSC companies, or shared service centers company, which are in BSCF, and it was a cultural shock for me. One of the interesting things was that the main majority of the population is kind of, in comparison to the companies that I worked before, younger than I used to work with. So suddenly I was not the youngest one in the team. It kind of changed. But what I eventually, after these almost 4 years, actually witnessed, and as the team and I are responsible for getting new people on board. This is now in IBM, but we see it also in other shared service centers. Is that it's actually the kind of how the work is structured is very friendly to let's call it the young population, in terms of flexibility, home offices, kind of the young environment. You do not really want to join, and no disrespect to anyone, a company where you have all the guys 60 plus years old, because you don't have also the kind of the personal relationships and connections there. So we see many of the either fresh graduates or after 1-2 years after graduating the studies, joining either IBM or some of the other SSC's companies and developing there for quite some time. We have now people that are for 10, 15 years, even more than that. How long are you at IBM?
It's getting to 11.
You see?
Actually, 11 in 1 month from now.
You see. And this is not only at IBM, this is also at other BSCF member companies. So, and they find their ways. It's the size of it, and in most of these centers, the size is quite nice. So it's not that you stick for the 10, 11, 15 years at the same job, but you do rotate. And that's just happening in such a pace that you learn. And, when you come out of the university, you still want to learn at least the next 15, 20 years. And this is what the companies here provide.
Actually, you enter probably also in this kind of vicious circle at one point where if you're, for more than 3 years in the same job, you start thinking like, yeah, but it's way too long.
You know?
Right, I need to change, I need to rotate, I need to go somewhere else, right? So maybe is there another team around that is looking?
And it happens.
But it's not, it's kind of unusual outside, I guess, in some, in more basic company. Think about my parents, right? But my mom is working in a kind of financial institution, and in this case, I mean, the same job for
Exactly.
20, 30 years. Right? It's not to change them, so it's quite interesting.
When I look back at my history before joining IBM, I was working, and I'm always working since I graduated in HR. But within HR, in my previous companies, it was not a small size company. So, I didn't have that much possibility to rotate to either within HR or outside of that. But here at IBM, I can, for instance, or in other SSC's companies, for instance, if I would want to be a Java developer, which would probably not be the best fit, I could go this career path if within the same company. So let's go about the size of the company, or companies that are among BSCS. And the rotation also, which is good to mention, is not happening only within this one company, but it usually also happens among the shared service centers, as the similarity of the jobs in some cases is common. So you can do the job at one, the other, or the third company. So we then also collaborate quite intense to have some common sense in these kind of rotations.
So let's say you find like the some kind of needed of skills in between.
It's a specific industry. We could compare it basically to the automotive industry. For instance, you have somebody producing cars at Volkswagen. You can potentially do a very similar job at Kia. Okay, they're not located in the same city, but basically you could. So in some way, we could compare that this industry that we are in, the shared service centers, in many of the jobs is comparable. Not all of them. It's not 100% comparable to the automotive, because they're all producing cars, and the shared service might be finance, might be IT, might be sales support, might be many others. But it's not always directly connected. But the rotation can happen on this level as well.
Interesting. And it's actually another way to learn more and get more skills. The more experience you have in different jobs within the sector still, but the more you actually see how things are done different way, meet more people.
And I've heard a nice quote, actually, very recently. There was this Profesia event for the best employer, and there was one of the quotes among the shared service center, not applicants, but the ones that voted, and said, I'm just making these companies up. I was at IBM, then I was at Dell, now I'm at IBM again. So these people do rotate, and I like it. That was the message of it. So it happens well. And one interesting, the number might be a bit off, but one interesting number that is there, that once you pass your 2 to 3 years within this sector, just in other words, fall in love with the sector, and you stay for 10, 11, 15 years, you do rotate. But you're kind of in the more safe zone there. Not comfort zone, but safe zone.
Then the career can go everywhere. I mean, in 11 years for me, I saw people traveling and going to work in IBM in another country, people from other countries coming here, people rotating to other BSc, right?
Exactly.
But even people that at one point they said, okay, I don't like this kind of way, this kind of corporate and so on. So and they went on their own, right? So, and having their own business. So I mean. Each one of these is a path, but it's always started from this experience.
It does. So I would recommend for graduates or young people, but not only to them, to try it out at least. You always can leave the company if you don't like it. It's a large, or mostly these are large international companies, so that some has some sort of corporate environment which you need to get used to or live with it. But I would recommend to try it. And then the knowledge, if you don't like it, then the knowledge and experience you gain here, you can easily use and transpose to some added value in a smaller company, whatever that could be. So,
could I say that? Like if I wanna come to IBM for a job interview, can I say like I just wanna try and I'm curious how it's
probably not the best selling argument. I just want to try, although it's a sincere one. So my recommendation to candidates when they ask, or friends, I'm going for an interview, what should I say? Is the recommendation is very simple: be sincere, be yourself. Don't just make something up. However, be wise at the same time. Meaning, don't undersell yourself. So if you would say, like, I'm just trying this out. Let's see how that works. It is maybe sincere, but it when you put yourself into the shoes of the interview, which usually is the hiring manager or your potential future manager, he does not really want to hear that. That this is just somebody who tries it out. It's fair to say it's one of my options. I like what you're telling me here. I'm young. I still want to explore other things, but I like what you're telling me here. Please elaborate on that. So that's rather more fair to say than I'm just trying here. Let's see how that goes.
Yeah, okay. What exactly are you? I mean, if we have some students that are interested in coming to work, maybe in IBM, so you're actually more skilled in that to consider you're working here. So, what would be the best way to approach an interview?
The advice would be the same. So be sincere. Be yourself. If you've come across an experienced hiring manager or recruiter, whatever, they will very soon, with few questions, find out that you're making things up, or that you're pretending something that you don't. So be sincere. That's one thing. Have courage. We came across feedbacks that, well, this is just a large company, too large. Why would they take me? I'm not good enough for them. So have courage also to say, okay, this looks hard or this looks too big, but let's try it out. If they invite me for an interview, I might have there's something which is interesting for them. So basically, be yourself and have courage to be there. And for students, coming maybe a bit more to your question, it is, and many of our hires, actually new joiners, are coming from our colleagues who are already students and working for us. Meaning today they're working for us as students, and they in some way only make the transition once they finish university or whatever studies. Doesn't have to be universities. Transition to full-time, part-time employees, whatever suits them, because we know them already, they know us, and I believe the same story applies to other BSCF companies.
So you start by, how do I find it? Like universities are helping IBM to share names of more students so that they can come, or IBM is searching for it, or students are coming. How does it work?
So universities are trying to help us, or we are kind of approaching universities to be more visible to the students, that like these are the job opportunities, or doesn't have to be full-time, part-time opportunities that you can join. However, it's more on the proactive side of the employers that we go there, build a university chill-out zones, that they see, okay, there is a company called IBM, Swiss Re, Dell, whatever you name it. But at the same time, it's more on the activity than of like basic hiring activity. So meaning the student either applies for a job that we have published, or we've, through a network or by any other means, directly approach students that we got good references on or similar. So the process for hiring students doesn't necessarily look too much different to hiring a different kind of full-timer.
Yes,
it's just the channels that you use to be talking to your target audience, in this regard, students.
And then, do you know if students that come, then many want to stay? If there is like kind of a ratio, like if you start the internship, then you just don't actually want to do that?
I don't have the number on top of my head now directly, but it's a large proportion of the students that really do stay. We have also internship projects, which is aimed to students. However, they're joining the company as part-time, and then potentially transposed to full-time employees. The number would be about 50% of them, but I would need to dig it up. But that's a good number. I mean, even if it would be 30 or 40%, I don't really recall that. Meaning that if you want to start here, then most likely we're both going to fall in love, meaning the students fall in love with the job.
I like it how it is.
Exactly, and it's a good number.
Yeah. Well, at the end, I would say, I don't know, for me and for many I talk to, it's really all about the people we have around, right? So
when I look at my team, which is about, in Slovakia, probably about 20 people, I guess it would be about 5 of them coming as students, joining us as students, and then becoming full-timers, part-timers, or whatever. And eventually some of them already moved on to some different career path that they wanted to elaborate on.
And when you started IBM, what were you looking for?
When I started at IBM,
you came as a manager already?
I came directly as a manager based on my previous experience. It was a challenge to for me, it was rather a cultural challenge because the companies were much smaller. That had like 700-800 people that I worked before for. So yeah, my career path was mainly now about since the 3.5-4 years for now expanding the role as such. So I'm not now only responsible for Slovakia, it's also other countries that I take care of, which is interesting. So let's see if we'll be talking in 2-3 years time, that already would be a positive because we're all still both at IBM, meaning that we did some career, steps. So yeah. Let's see if that really works out.
Yeah, that would be nice. And any particular? Are you watching also like the CVs or that are coming in?
Not for all the position, or for very limited position. It's actually the skilled team that's looking at the CVs. But sometimes we have the best ups and downs of CVs that are coming in, and kind of recommendation is, which is anyhow common sense, at least we believe, pay attention to the CV that you have because it's your first selling point. Unless you are referred and somebody knows you, like, yeah, Lala is a good guy, go and interview him. The CV is such, and your profile is your main selling point. And in general, it takes like 5-6 seconds for a person, recruiter, hiring manager, to take a look at your CV and say, or yeah, it looks well, and I'll read on. But it's just a few seconds time that you have, so that's why the CV needs to stand out.
Are the CV evolving somehow? Because I know when I joined, there was the usual Euro Pass CV, whatever. That's European Union gave something. So to avoid misunderstanding, so okay, there is something standard. Let's bring that. But now we have more videos, you have links, you have things, you have images, you can have a lot of different things. So how they are changing the
They are evolving. In most of the cases, you get some sort of standardized template, name, experience, education, It varies based on the position that you're applying to, or the candidates, what kind of experience they bring with them. For instance, when you have a marketing person or a salesperson, most likely the CV will look a bit different. It will have pictures. It will be potentially embedded with a video because you could receive it electronically. But I believe when we look at kind of what's waiting for us, then for the future, we will get rid of the written CVs and it will be more going to video, both with interaction. The hiring manager needs to sell himself to the candidate, and so the hiring manager will be talking about himself. Maybe instead of a job description, it will be the hiring manager talking to you about the position when you click on one of the job boards. You will not see any text, it will be video, and the other way around. So the candidate will not be sending you, it's already happening in some experimental phases, will not be sending you a CV, but will be sending you, let's call it video.
Hi, this is me.
Hi, this is me.
Hopefully this video are less than 5 minutes because we're doing...
Well, it depends. It can have clusters like introduction, experience, education. You might have limits, and there are companies already experimenting with that to sell it then to companies like IBM and other among BSCF to sell it as a tool. Like you can have your phone and just potentially attend the interview with the tool, answer preset questions, have a time limit. And the hiring manager on his phone can just look at it.
But some interviews are also done already virtually, right? So
they are. I mean, but that's already it's not a face-to-face interview; it's a face-to-screen interview. But it happens now. We have all the travel and coronavirus restrictions, so it's happening more and more. Mainly when talking about foreign hiring, so when these candidates are not specifically present in the same location as we want to hire.
So if you're like, someone is in Italy or Croatia or wherever, like you want to come here, just use whatever.
You do that.
You connect with them.
It's much easier and it's cost saving and time saving for both the company and candidate. You just sit on your screen. And you have to be careful in this. Watch your environment where you're sitting. I remember it was at that time, I think, a Skype interview when the candidate was sitting just in a room where he had like a lot of alcohol bottles behind him. So it was a good icebreaker. Then when we started the interview, like, so what did you drink today? So he then explained, like, yeah, this is just the room. So just when doing this, watch your back.
Everything is a presentation, right?
Everything is a presentation. Eventually, we hired that guy. He was actually a great sales guy. So that the environment is then something else which you don't have in your physical CV,
Yeah.
but just a different kind of selling point.
Okay, cool. So maybe to close it up, to understand more about the what the career here, right? So what would you say to student or somebody who's watching us? Just your sales pitch for join IBM and join a BSc company.
Well, that's a good one. I would, to the students watching this, basically my recommendation would be go and try it out. We have many people who are here long term and happy, coming from the students. So it's kind of one of the selling points. They would not be here if they would not be happy. The jobs variety is large. Come and try. I mean, basically, it's a very easy selling thing because it's already, you have the fruits there. You just can copy that what already successful and happy people have.
Yeah, and also it proved with the particularly recently the best employer. You actually were, I think, in Vienna. When you traveled to the US to get the Stevie Award.
There were several awards for different things. The one that you're mentioning is the one that we've partially mentioned. That's the Best Employer Award conducted by Professia, which IBM for this year won, but in other years different companies did win. And it's kind of a selling point as well. You can, in other words, tell, do you want to work for the best employer? For this year, it's this company. Next year, it might be a different one. But it actually proves that the companies working in the SSC sectors are pumping a lot of energy, money, and time to make the people happier. That's why you're here 11 years, and so on and so on. So come and stay with us for the next 10, 20 years, whatever suits you.
Okay, so thank you so much for sharing.
Happy to.
And thank you for watching as usual. So if you have any more questions, comment below. And see you to the next slide.
Thank you. Bye-bye.